All right, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome to our team call. It's the first Monday of April. Isn't that insane? Like, what the frick? I feel like I don't know where the first half of 2020 went. But tonight I'm excited because this is a topic that I honestly think that I, for a long time, didn't have not felt like I was someone to give a training on Instagram. But I feel like looking back on my today, I did creating this, and Shannon actually me in photo challenge thing, which got me like looking at back at my Instagram, like when I first created this account, and I created this account back in January of 2017. For myself before I even joined Beachbody. That was 3 months before I joined Beachbody. And then, 3 months after I joined is when I started coaching. So looking back at those posts, you guys, was just insane. It was humbling. It was like, oh my God, just shows you how far you truly are coming. And I can honestly tell you that everything, and this is the thing that kills me, is because everything you see today literally has been me failing forward with my social media over the last 3 years. It's all trial and error. So I know that this is a common fear. It's a common insecurity. It's a stop for a lot of new coaches because they don't understand. They feel like they don't know enough about Instagram, or they don't know enough about social media, so they just don't post. They just don't do the thing. And you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if there's anything you take away from this call, is that you will not learn a thing if you aren't doing, okay? So I'm just going to hope and pray that you take away some value tonight, that maybe I share some things that maybe you're not doing, or maybe that will help you. But I hope to God that you also just understand that there is no secret. We all start somewhere, and you all will get better in time. Okay. So I'm going to put this in present mode so you can really see. Hold on. You can really see. Okay. Hold on, let me go back. Okay. All right. So tonight is all about Instagram do's and don'ts. So I was going to call this, social media do's and don'ts, but honestly, I feel like for the most part, I run my business primarily 90%, I'd say, on Instagram. When I first started as a new coach, and I think, and I will always teach this, and I still think that, I still utilize Facebook. I share everything that I do on Instagram over to Facebook. That's why I'm really going to focus in on Instagram, because I don't believe there's no sense in double creating separate content. Whatever you're sharing on your Instagram can go directly onto your Facebook page, and or vice versa. Okay. But I have always done it that way. And I really, encourage you guys. Instagram is really truly where it's at, for, longevity wise, and just, going forward. So if you're not on Instagram and you're not confident with Instagram, again, like I said, when I first started, like, I was a Facebook girl, and I created an Instagram account. And I had to just learn and fail my way forward. Okay. Everything is figure outable. If like 50, my mom can figure out like social media. If 60, 70, 80-year-old women, if you listen to Marie Forleo podcast, she talks about this all the time, about how more and more people are starting second careers or starting businesses in their second half of their life, aka 50s and above, than any other age group. Like it is, the whole excuse of I'm too old, or you haven't done it before, is no longer an excuse. Okay. So I wanted to start out like just kind of expressing to you where my mindset is coming from when I'm talking about social media. And the fact is that every single one of you is here for a reason. You all have a gift to share. You were born to stand out in a sit down world. And this is my favorite quote over the last 48 hours. I heard it on my new book that I'm listening to, Fear is My Homeboy by Judy Holler. And the way that I strongly, if you're looking for a new PD, put that on your list, bottom, hands down, put it on your list to listen to. She talks about how like imposter syndrome is just a symptom of fear. It's just one of those things like that our fear calls on this imposter syndrome, that thing that tells you when that you like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Like you don't know enough to like, you don't know anything. You don't have a transformation, or you don't know enough about health and fitness to be sharing about this. No one wants to listen to you. No one wants to look at your life, or no one thinks you're interesting, or all these things, all these lies, right, that go through our heads. That's imposter syndrome. And the reason that imposter syndrome exists, the reason why our fear, puts that out there into our brain is because it is trying to keep us safe. It's because it's trying to stop you from getting uncomfortable. And you guys, growth in doing this, the fact that you're here, the fact that you're coaching, the fact that you're sharing your journey, it is just because you are leveling up. All right. Like applaud yourself right now, pat yourself on the back, and just already know the fact that you're even here is already a sign that you are leveling up. Okay. But it's uncomfortable it's uncomfortable to change. It's uncomfortable to grow. And the whole purpose and goal of this, of the reason why we do personal development, and the reason why I love coaching so damn much, is because it has gotten me comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is something that I could not say 3 years ago. Okay. And so if you are a new coach and you are struggling with coming up against that wall of feeling like, you're coming up against that imposter syndrome, you're dealing with that, that negative Nancy in your head, and you keep starting, right? You keep starting and then you stop. You start, then you stop. You're not building any momentum because you keep coming across this lie that's telling you that you can't do this. You're wrong, okay? Because we all have that. We all have that inside us. The thing is that sets us all apart is just understanding that that's normal, and understanding that every successful person, let this be proof tonight. Like I said, one of the things that I had to do for myself was understand that, look at the other successful coaches that I looked up to. Look at Melanie Mitchell. Look at when I first started, obviously, I was looking to Melanie Mitchell, and I was looking to people like Alyssa Showmaker, and who were the other bigger coaches, and I was looking at them and, looking how far that they actually have gone. But then I was, realizing they all started where I started. Okay. I started exactly where you are right now. All right. And as long as you're willing to grow, and you're willing to get uncomfortable, and you're willing to face that fear over and over and over and over again, you're going to blow your damn mind. Okay. You're going to get better, and you're going to find your groove. Okay. So this is my first post. Okay. So I was looking back today, and this is my first actual coaching post. Okay. I didn't show the whole caption, but basically one of the things that one of the things about me, I'm a perfect walking, misconception, objection, because I didn't have a transformation. This actually is a picture of me. This is a picture from a year prior to when I started coaching. And I talked about in this post about the fact that I, started this journey because of the girl that, I was in these pictures. Okay. Because I've always struggled with my body image. I've always struggled with the number on the scale. I've always been, an over exerciser. I talked about my story. I talked about my reasons for why I pursued this journey for myself. Okay. And I ended the post with do you want to do this with me? If you want to, whatever, DM me or email me at coachamyray.gmail.com. And that was my first post. that was my first like actual coming out post. Up until then, it was just sweaty selfies, and I would say, you know, what program I was doing. You'll see in a second, I'm going to show you like my first month snapshot. But you guys, I share this with you because we all have a day one, all right? Like we all suck and we all fumble and we all trip and fall. Like, you know, as a kid, when you first started learning how to walk, it's normal, right? It's normal to not be good in the beginning. But when it comes to us and when it comes to this, for some reason, we forget all that, okay? So understand that you have to start somewhere. And we all have the same access to the same training and the same tools, which should be a sigh of relief for you, because I don't have anything that you don't have. I've used YouTube and all of the resources and all of the things that you already have access to, okay? So we all can be successful. If there's someone that you are comparing yourself to, or if there's something that you compare yourself to, know that that is just proof that you can actually do the thing. Because anyone who's done it before you is just proof that you can do this too. So again, this is my snapshot of my Instagram back in July of 2017. So you can see, you can't see the post that I just showed you guys. It's like, you know, this is like the next like reel of pictures up above that post. Okay, so July 2017, that's the month that I started coaching, and I had no clue what I was doing, you guys. Like, all I knew is that I was told that if you want to grow this business, if you want to build trust and credibility, you have to share. You have to show up, okay? So that's what I focused on. It's not perfect. It's not pretty. I did a lot of the wrong things, but I focused on that consistency, okay? I focused on, you know, I knew that I needed to share transformations. I knew that I needed to, you know, inside and out. I knew that I needed to focus on showing up and just being proof, okay? And obviously I followed the clues, right? I took every post. And I think, you know, there's a beauty of, you know, being a beginner because you don't know any better. And so I really try not to overthink it, okay? I just focused on doing the actions that I was told to do. And that was sharing value, sharing what I was doing. So you'll see, like, I shared a recipe. I shared about my personal development. You know, I shared bits about my life, like, you know, you see my house in there. I went and visited my best friend when she had her baby. Like, there's my family. There's me and my nursing scrubs. Like, I shared about my life. And so even though it's not pretty and not perfect, like, and I was only getting like, you know, 12 likes on all these photos, it's my start. It's my somewhere, okay? And it was still, even though I didn't have a large following and all these things, like, it was what helped me build the confidence that you now see today, okay? And it allowed me to learn from trial and error, because what I saw that wasn't working, I started to follow those clues, okay? So this is now like a year later, right? So a year later in 2018, because you can tell, like, this is, you know, I just got married. This is the summertime of, like, around the time that I just got married. There's Shannon and I went for a hike. I believe that was like in August time. So this was like between July and August of 2018. In these photos, compared to before, in those photos, July 2017, I hit Emerald in August of 2017. In these photos, I am a diamond coach. I am leading team calls. I am hitting Success Club. You know, I was a year and change. I was, you know, just a year into coaching. And 6 months later is when I went per diem with my job, with nursing, okay? So I wanted to show you this because even though it's still not perfect, right? It's still, you can see, like, I got better. I improved, okay? I still created, you know, a system. I still created, I was consistent. I focused on that consistency factor. I still showed up. I was sharing value. I was still trying to find my groove, right? I was working full time. I was getting married. I was a newlywed, and we went on our honeymoon and all these things. And like this, I found what worked for me and I was consistent with it. Okay. So I want you to understand that you need to focus on just the progress. You need to focus on the progress, not perfection right now. All right. Because you won't ever be perfect. I am still learning to this day. I'm still trying and learning. And honestly, I like that. Like, I like that I'm always learning, and I like that I'm always learning new things, and I'm constantly trying to level up myself and level up my own growth and level up my own, Instagram and social media. But the most important factor is that you just be you. Okay. You just need to share your life. You need to share you, and people are going to fall in love with you. Right. The other day I talked about my 3-year anniversary last week or so. I had people messaging me being like, oh my God, I can't believe it's been 3 years. Like, I remember you from, like, I remember start following you, like, right, from the very beginning, which is insane, you guys. But that's what people, like, that's what we're trying to do here. Like, I just answered an objection on my stories earlier. Like, how do you get people to join you? I'm like, you don't get people to join you. You're trying to build fans. You're trying to build a connection. You're trying to find the other yous of the world. And the only way that you're going to find the other people like you is by being you and sharing what's important in, relative to you. Okay. So again, I just want to show you guys kind of like this progression of like me when I first started coaching versus me, a year into coaching, and now and the things I've learned along the way. So I want to just dive right into the things that I've learned. Okay. The things that I've learned not to do. And some of these you've probably already heard before, but I'm going to tell you it again. Okay. Don't be a one-hit wonder. AKA, don't be the coach that shows up and then doesn't show up for 3 days and then doesn't show up for another day, but then shows up whenever they feel like it. If you're going to do the thing, do the thing. All right. If you're going to be a coach and you want to build a successful business, if you want to actually change lives consistently, then you need to show up. All right. So that means like 5 to 7 days a week, you guys. The thing about social media is it is always changing. When I first started coaching, I was just on the tail end of when people were posting like 3 to 5 times a day, you guys. Like, that was a thing before, like, the year before I started coaching. And a lot of it was on Facebook. It wasn't really on Instagram. And then that year that I started was kind of like that transition year. And still, like, the thing is that like more was better. Now we really truly are about quality. Sorry, I'm trying to. Yeah. Now if you do it, you get blocked. So I hope no one is requested to get added. Okay. Hopefully this will notify me if that happens. So where was I? So yeah. So now I want to tell you, and I'm so glad that this is the way. It's one good post a day. Okay. If you're going to do anything, I want you to focus on one quality post 5 to 7 days a week. Okay. If you are, for a long time, I was a 7-day a weeker. Okay. And it wasn't up until probably the last couple of months that I've become really interested in studying my insights. And I'm going to get into that, and understanding my audience. Okay. So now I'm probably like a 6 to 7. I either take a day where I don't post on like Sunday or Monday. Okay. Cause that's when my Instagram, my following really is kind of dead. Okay. And that's something that I'm not going to tell you to do. I'm going to tell you to focus on consistency and posting consistently until you get to that point where you are really, able to you're comfortable enough, you're consistent enough, you're rock star enough that you can, you know, take that time to look into your audience. Okay. But in the beginning, I would always recommend, and I will always say, like, this was probably one of the best things I was ever taught. Okay. Was to just be consistent. And for me, just like working out, I'm not good at rest days. I don't like taking rest days. I know that they're necessary, but like for me, consistency is what keeps me in check. And so same thing with my business, working, you know, consistency with my business hours, consistency with my vital behaviors. All of that is what helps me stay in forward momentum. Okay. So it's the same thing with my social media. The second thing is I don't want you to share stock photos. Okay. Don't share photos or pictures that aren't of you, or like, for example, in this, like I show you in this, like, I think it's okay sometimes to take pictures of things or show, you know, obviously show pictures of things that don't have your face in it, but not often. Okay. It's something that I think that I've really gotten away from, just from, again, learning, absorbing, being a sponge, and learning from the successful people in this business. Pretty much every picture should have you in it. Okay. I do know that some people and some successful coaches do still like do quote posts and things like that in text form or memes or something like that. And if that's you, that's cool. If that's your audience, that's cool. If that's your brand, all right? But in the beginning, I think sometimes we can do it like, I would say, like you saw here. Like there was a while that I actually did that where I want, you know, every 3 rows or every 9 photos, I'd share a quote picture, but I would take the quote and I would put it in my text. So it all looked fluid and all looked the same. And then I would, you know, write a post off of that quote. Okay. If that's something that you want to do content wise, it's something that like works for you and your people like it, do it. Okay. But otherwise, don't do what I did and take pictures off of Pinterest and share quotes in your feed. Okay. Same thing with like old family photos or, you know, just like recipe stock photos. Like don't share that kind of stuff. The other thing is taking pictures in dark lighting. So you guys, I am right there with you. I know some of you live in houses, or you might live in a house and you might not have a lot of natural light. We didn't at our old house for sure. Like we lived in a log cabin. I had a very tiny window in my spare bedroom, and all throughout our house, all the windows were tiny. There wasn't a lot of light. And so you can tell here, like obviously, you know, I took pictures. If I was at home, I was typically near a window, okay? But it still wasn't enough. This is where you really, if you're gonna, you know, treat this like a business, invest in it like a business. Very quickly, I think that fall, I purchased a ring light, okay? So if you don't have lighting, go outside, all right? If you don't have lighting, be taking pictures when you're not in your house, okay? For me, I would often go outside to our back porch or our front porch. Then I got my ring light, and then obviously I would take pictures with the ring light. But I knew that I didn't have good lighting, okay? And that was, again, something I failed forward at. I knew, like, you can tell, like, a lot of my pictures are dark. So be aware of that and be smarter about it, okay? This is not hard to work around. Obviously, I did it. It just means that you're taking more pictures when you're out and about, okay? When you're out and about, you know, in your car, out walking to and from work, coming into your house, like on the weekends, just be taking more photos, okay? And then be repetitive, or don't be repetitive. Don't be repetitive in the sense, like, don't be talking about the same thing every day, okay? And I especially see this on stories, okay? I do think it's important, and I'll say that in our next slide about, you know, the sharing of your story consistently. And there's ways to, you know, obviously doing that in different ways, you know. There's different ways to come at sharing your story, but a lot of the things that I see with coaches is repetitiveness on their stories. Okay. Doing the same, you know, thing when they're making their energize in the morning, doing the same workout clip, doing the same, you know, they show the same things of their day every single day. Okay. Your stories, you guys, is your reality TV show. Okay. Your feed is your storefront. It looks more professional. Okay. But your social media, like your stories, people want to see your real life. They want to see your personality. They want to see goofy. They want to see random. They want to see, you know, obviously consistently, they'll want to see, you want to share your workout. Oh, and you want to share, you know, those things that we have to share to let people know what we're doing. You want to breadcrumb coaching. You want to do all these things, but you can do it differently, and it doesn't take a lot of effort in different ways. In a rotation even, like I switch it up from day to day. Like maybe I'll make a trailer for my workout post today, but tomorrow I'm just going to share one clip and I'm going to, you know, talk about it. I'm going to share, you know, do music with it, but maybe I just will do one clip. Right. And then the next day I might do something, you know, different. I might do a trailer for a dance party or something like that. So it's like, you know, I'm constantly trying to be aware of what I've done and try and always switch it up. Okay. So don't be repetitive, and then don't be boring. All right. Share content that you want to see. All right. This is another new coach trap, is where you start sharing what other people are sharing. Don't just share what other people are sharing. Like, yes, success leaves clues, but what I share might not be relative to you in your life, in your audience. Okay. So don't share, like, this is where it comes from. Like, what is it that you like to consume? What are the pictures that you like to double tap or you like to see in your feed? Like, what kind of content do you like to read? Right. So share more of that. Right. And you can learn about this, you guys. You can poll your audience. Like, you can ask in your stories. And this is something I like to do from time to time. I like to ask my people, like, what do you want to like to see more of? Like, what is it that why do you follow me? You know, or what do you like to see? Lifestyle? Do you like to hear about me and Nate? You know, do you like to hear more about baby stuff? Like my dogs? What is it that you like to hear, you like see more of? Okay. Because that's huge, right? We are here. Yes, we're sharing us and we're sharing our life. But like I said, we're here to build fans, not followers. Okay. And people are going to fall in love with you and honestly, I feel like my people love to see my life. Okay. Like they'll listen and read my, you know, call to actions and stuff like that. But they love and they're invested in me because of who I am in my life. Okay. So don't be boring. Share content that you want to see. All right. And that's something that only you can figure out and only you can learn. And that you just, again, tweak and do over time. And don't be afraid to switch things up. So one of the things that I was afraid to do for the longest time was to add a filter. Like every time I realized, like, oh, I really am hating this filter, you know, or I'm hating, like I don't like what I'm doing. I want to switch it up. Like you can tell, like I edited my pictures a certain way for a really long time. And so it all looks that's the same. And then I realized I hated that. So switching it up, you guys, no one's going to care. Okay. Just do it. If you decide that you don't like something and you want to switch it up, just switch it up. Just do it. Okay. If you're going to change the layout of how you do your photos, just do it, right? No one's going to notice. No one's going to care. The only one that really is truly going to care is you, okay? So if it's not appealing to you, then it's likely not appealing to your people. So that's when you know, yes, go with your gut and just switch it up, okay? So some do's. Obviously, I already talked about this. Being consistent, okay? Be consistent. Be consistent. Like that is my number one tip, is think of yourself like a brick and mortar, okay? Think of what's happening right now. Orange Theory is not open. Pure Barre is not open. And yes, they did, turn around and go and offer like online classes, right? The creative people right now are going to be the people that survive, right? The people that turn and pivot and roll with the punches of everything that's going on. But, think of all the restaurants, think of all the stores that are going out of business because they aren't open. It's the same thing for us with our social media. If you are not posting, you are not relevant. If you are not posting, you are not open, okay? I'd say the number one thing, even on the days that I don't post on my feed, I am always, every single day, you will see something on my stories. And even if this is something like, even if you're going through a hard time, you guys, like you don't need to share, everything. You can just share and let people know that you're alive. You can let people know like you are having a hard day or you are having a hard time or you're going through something and like you are going to be distant, right? Because they're invested in you. And if you want them to be invested in you, aka when you are, get in their inbox and you are inviting them to your next boot camp or you're inviting them to your next coaching sneak peek, if you want them to show up for you, then you need to show up for them, okay? So be consistent no matter what, even if you do follow that 5, 6, whatever post, does not mean you just get to ixnay out on your stories, okay? Your stories are your reality TV show, okay? That's you having your open light on all the time. And then share what's relative to you in your life. So obviously this is like this is my recent like grid shot, okay? I'm sharing, obviously I'm pregnant. We are doing a lot of house renovations. I am 30 years old. I am starting my family. I am no longer working full-time as a nurse. My season of life has changed, okay? What's relevant to my life has changed, okay? So I'm sharing what's relevant to my life, okay? That's going to relate to the people that are in that similar phase of life that I am. That's going to relate to the people that want to be in the same, relatively similar chapter of life that I am in, or, whatever, okay? It's the same thing for you. If you are working full time or you're working multiple jobs, you talk about that, share about that, okay? Take pictures like I did when I was working full time as a nurse. Take pictures of you going into work or before work or in your nursing gear or whatever. Like, Alex, takes pictures of her like at her job. You know what I mean? Like, let people know how busy you are because you guys, that's part of your brand. That's part of your story. That's what's relative and is going to connect with the other girl that's working 2 jobs and she needs an outlet, okay? And then share your story consistently. So one of the things I was afraid to do, and this is probably one of like the lessons that I've learned. One of the things I used to think was that I was getting repetitive. Like, what I was saying, don't be repetitive. The one thing you should be repetitive about is your story, your pain points, okay? Why did you join this community, for one? Talk about the pain points and the reasons why you joined this community all the time when you're doing your life, when it's that time of the month when you're enrolling to your boot camps, right? Be talking about why you joined, right? What was it for you? For me, it was, I wanted more confidence. I wanted to feel stronger in my skin. I wanted to, I wanted that outlet. I wanted that, control that I didn't have in my day-to-day life, okay? I wanted to be prepared for motherhood, okay? I didn't want to pass on my insecurities to my future children and into my marriage or all these things. I wanted to stop projecting. So I tell that story a lot, okay? I talk about that a lot because people need to see things and hear things at least more than 7 to 10 times before it clicks, okay? All that rolls over in inviting as well, okay? You guys, one invite might not be good enough, all right? I have people follow me that I've invited for over a year, 2 years, and maybe just now they're joining. Okay. You never know how many times it's going to take that for someone to hear something for it to sink in. Okay. Same thing for coaching. I talk about my $10,000 of credit card debt, and I talk about, my $30,000 total of debt. I talk about the fact that I was paying off my wedding. I talk about all of those things all of the time when I'm talking about coaching. I'm constantly breadcrumbing that in because that's me. That was me. That was my why. That was where I was at when I started coaching. That was my reality, and those were my pain points. Those were my fears. Was how the hell am I going to pay for this and get married and have us be able to afford to buy our house with all this debt weighing me down? Like, I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to keep working full time, or I didn't want to have to go back to working nights or weekends. These were all things that were very real for me and why I started coaching. So I talk about them all the time. And it's not just even on your feed or in your stories or in your posts. This is what I talked about this today on my stories. I call people out on their, I've been getting a lot of objections about coaching. And yet I'm hearing a lot of the pain points, which were why I started coaching. So I talked about my story again. I talked about it on my stories, and I asked for people to give me their objections so I could address them. So do this consistent. That's a way that I mean by creatively doing it consistently. Okay. It doesn't have to be the same thing all the time. That's the point is not to be repetitive in how you share it. You can constantly share this, from different angles and little breadcrumbs. And then show your personality. Like I'm pretty dorky. I'm pretty, weird. I'm also just kind of like, I want to be a badass, but I'm kind of just not. But I'm also tough love. Like, I just try and share my personality, okay? I'm a softie with a very sassy side, okay? Like, don't cross me. But I'm also a huge lover, right? So my feed and my page is light and bright and like it's mushy, okay? I talk about a lot of mushy stuff. Like, I'm a feeling kind of girl. Like, I'm a number 2 on the Enneagram. Like, I'm a helper. I'm a feeler. So I talk about touchy-feely things, okay? I'm sentimental. So if you're not, then don't be that, okay? So do you, be you. What's relevant to you? I don't share a lot of food pictures or anything like that because that's real, like I used to, but again, it felt like I was trying to do something that I thought I had to do. And maybe I was still figuring out my groove. I was still figuring out my brand, right? If you really are a foodie, then share food, okay? Like, well, that's not me, all right? So what you have to figure out what your personality is, and you have to follow that. All right. Like I said, the best answer to all of this is just to be yourself. Okay. If ever something feels like it's not working, it's probably because you're trying to force it. And it's probably because you're trying to be something you're not. And again, this isn't a sign that you're not good at this, or you're not going to be good at this, or that you're not going to be successful. It's a sign that you need to change something up and that you just need to tweak and you need to grow, right? Using a consistent filter. So one of the best things that ever happened in the Instagram world was Lightroom filters. That's my opinion, okay? I love my Lightroom filter. And that's what I mean. Like, I've probably bought 3 over the last 3 years, or 3 or 4. I don't know. I finally found one I love, and now I'm like obsessed with it. But you guys, like, as my brand has changed, my filter changed, okay? And so when I lived in our log cabin, I, looked for filters that would lighten and brighten everything up, okay? I looked for a light and bright filter, right? Had a lot of exposure, a lot of background lighting. Now, that we have so much natural light, I wanted to warm things up again, right? So that's my brand, right? My brand is warm and inviting and cozy. So that's kind of the filter that I went with, okay? And this again is like, what's your aesthetic? What is appealing to you? Because if it's appealing to you, then it will be appealing to your people. Okay. So if you don't have a filter, I will guarantee you this will, like, one, it will make your page look 10 times better. But two, it will take so much time and worry out of your day about worrying about editing a photo, okay? Because you slap your filter on it, and I guarantee you it's like night and day, you guys. Like, I maybe tweak a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it makes my life so much easier, okay? And like, whenever I take pictures, and I have a ton in my Lightroom already edited, already, you know, with the filter on it, and I can, you know, whenever I'm feeling like I don't have, maybe I'm not going to take like an active live photo that day, I can look through my, you know, Lightroom library and find a picture that's relevant to what I want to talk about, right? So using a filter, and you can find these on Etsy. I guess some people, you can get them from like Instagram, like some people sell them on their Instagram, like create them on their Instagram. Just ask around, okay? Ask where people, if you like someone's filter, ask them where they got it, that kind of thing. And then mapping out your week. This is something that I actually do. And I heard Ali Tessitore talk about on the National Wake Up Call today. And I will say that this is something that really, truly helps me. I've never been one to really, truly map out my social media. But what I do is I think about what's coming up in my week. So, for example, you know, Tuesdays are my my weekly, like, trimester. That's like my countdown date for my trimesters or whatever. Every Tuesday, I've hit another week. So Tuesdays, you know, I know either Tuesdays or Wednesdays or one of those days, I'm going to talk about something related to where I'm at within my pregnancy. You know, if I have appointments, a lot of my appointments tend to fall on Wednesdays or Thursdays. And you know, if I had an ultrasound, oh, I know my ultrasound's on Friday. Okay, I know I'm going to talk about my ultrasound on Friday, and I'm going to tie in, and I'm always tying in or breadcrumbing in something. So I'm breadcrumbing. A lot of times I'm talking about the fact, like, I'm breadcrumbing coaching. Because obviously I wouldn't be going to an appointment at 10 a.m. on a Friday if I was working full time, right? Or, you know, the fact is like, I didn't ever know that I was going to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. So a lot of times when I'm talking about my pregnancy, or I'm talking about motherhood, I'm usually breadcrumbing in something, okay? So thinking about my week like that, and then obviously I can plug in from there. So I know I'm going to want a transformation post, okay? And for me right now, those are kind of weird. I'm kind of going back to, again, talking more about like my internal transformation versus like a physical transformation. Because obviously I'm like just getting bigger and bigger, but I am still doing those transformation posts, okay? And then I'm plugging in my lifestyle posts, or I'm plugging in something like fun. So those are all things that I like to think about. And what helps me is, like, again, thinking about my week ahead. What's coming up? Like, what's happening? So then I can already know, all right, I've got three post ideas already for the week. That means I need to plug in like 2, maybe to 3 more, right? And I already know what I'm going to plug those in with, because I know I need this, I know I need that. And then writing out captions. So one of the things I also did when I was working full time, and this is something I highly recommend you, is because most of you work on a computer, is if I was listening, or if I had listened to something and, you know, on my way to work, or if I had a thought, like, you know, you get these thoughts in your head and or something comes to you, and I was like in the middle of my workday, I would throw up my email and I would type it out to myself, because I can work and multitask and still get this idea out in type form and email it to myself. So that way, when I get off work, or if I go on lunch break and I take a picture, boom, I've already got my content pretty much written. It just needs to be formatted, right? That's something I still do to this day, is if I'm like, you know, in the middle of something, or if I'm working on something and something comes to me, or if I'm listening to my book and I hear a quote I really like, or if I get an idea for a post that I want to do, I get it out. I get it out on not, paper. I get it out physically so I can save it and use it either that day or some other day. Okay. And making sure in like these, you guys are like the best posts. Okay. Because the posts, like I will say that I think a lot of you are really good at this. And this was something that I didn't do this so great when I was a newer coach. I really tried to mimic a lot of other coaches. And that, again, it's icky. It's not going to connect with your people. Okay. It's not going to help grow your business because people can sense that. When it's not you, they can sense it. Because again, if you're being you on your stories, people are getting to know your personality. So then when they go and read your post, it doesn't click, it doesn't connect. They feel that. Okay. So write things out in your words. That, AKA, if you're goofy, if you're kind of sassy or sentimental, like write how you would talk. Okay. And people are going to connect better with that. All right. And then like I said, consistent transformations. And for me, like when I first joined, I didn't have really a physical transformation, but it didn't mean that I couldn't share like me at a low point to me at a high point. Okay. Like this was me at one of my lowest points, whether it was me at, 100 and whatever pounds, or if it was me at like, one of my heavier weights. Okay. To me now, to again, share and show like, I've been all over the place. Like this is part of my story. Like I've been high, I've been low, like I'm looking for consistency. I'm looking for a lifestyle. I'm looking to get off this roller coaster. That was part of my story. So I would talk about my internal and, transformations, like what this community in these workouts or whatever were doing for me mentally, emotionally, physically. Okay. So if you have results, if you're in a program, be sharing those results consistently. So one of the things that I heard from, some people like to do like once a week. So you want, when people are looking at your page, you want them to not have to scroll for them to be able to see a transformation. So if you have to scroll to see a transformation, it means you're not posting transformations enough. Okay. Reuse powerful content. So I'm going to talk about this in the next slide with more of my like tips, but guys, I'm constantly looking back at my insights in my archive of posts that did well, posts that got the most engagement, posts that got the most reach. Okay. This comes from having a business account. So I'm able to repurpose content. That's another little secret, is like the lot more you're posting and the longer you coach, the more you're going to have in your bank to go back on to give yourself ideas for what connects with your audience. Okay. If you're needing like a call to action, or if you're needing something, you're kind of stuck with what you want to share in regards to like, talking about your boot camp or even coaching related, you can look back and look at posts that did really well, that connected and got a lot of engagement, that you were talking about maybe a sneak peek or coaching or something, and you can reuse it. All right. And this comes back to just, again, study your audience, study your page, right? You have to treat this like a business. You have to treat your page like a storefront, because that's really truly what it is. It's a representation of you and who you are as a coach, who you are as a person, who you are as a business owner. If you aren't treating it with integrity, if you aren't treating it seriously, then you're not going to be taken seriously. Okay. And that, again, it comes with time. It just comes with you being willing. It's a gut check. It's uncomfy sometimes to, be like, okay, I'm not really doing so hot. What do I need to tweak? Like this isn't really working. I need to switch something up. And sometimes it honestly is so simple as that I'm just not being myself. I need to give myself permission to just be myself. And that might just be the thing that freaking lights the flame. Okay. So insights. if you don't already have a business account, you need to make your Instagram a business account. Okay. And if for the number one reason is so that you can study your insights. So this is what I mean. Like I can go into my, you go to the menu bar and you can go to insights and you can look at your content and look at posts from the last year, 2 years, and look at, and it will categorize your post by the number of likes. You can, there's a million different things, number of likes as far as their reach, the most engagement. So I can look at all my posts that have gotten the most engagement in the last year. And I can look at them and study them and see why did they get the most engagement, right? Was it a certain time of day? What was I talking about? What was I sharing about? Obviously, people love babies, right? Obviously, people love me and Nate, like people love my house renovation stuff. So that's all knowledge that I can gain about my audience, okay? And use that in when I'm creating, posts for later. So more tips and stuff that I use. So again, business account, so you can get access to those insights. That's really what's going to allow you to start studying what's working and not working, okay? TikTok, I just downloaded this actually because I heard that TikTok is really where it's at. Like, especially now with Corona, TikTok is blowing up even more. So if you have Triller I've been using, but I'm going to learn TikTok because I know that that's where people are at. And I know that's what people are loving. So I'm going to learn TikTok. Okay. So have fun with this. You can make fun videos, dance parties, do your workout clips like this, just be goofy, get creative. You can do this with your family and stuff, or with your, your team, some of the coaches on your team. Like Deidre, my upline, asked us all to send her a little clip of us with our Energize. Little did I know what she was actually doing, and it was this whole Energize video, like of all of us. It was really funny. It was really cool. So you can do stuff like that. And again, it's breadcrumbing your community. It's showing people an inside scoop of like that, of what this is all really like. Okay. Like, Lightroom, that's what I use to edit all my photos. That's the app that you'll need for a lot of these filters, is you'll need to have the Lightroom app. Before I also use Snapseed. Snapseed is the app that I use to like edit. So like blemishes or random things like that, I use Snapseed for. But Preview is actually something that I use to like, I put in my photos before I post them a lot of time, so I can see how they lay out against all my other photos. So I used to do this with the Plan app, but then you have to start paying for the Plan app. So I got rid of that. I'm back to using Preview. Again, things are always changing, you guys. So I use Preview to assess my layout, see, it might even just be like a flipping of a photo. Maybe you don't want to pose the same in a ton of your photos, or you don't want to be all, this is a tip I learned from Brittany a couple weeks back, or last week. Just even the way you might head tilt your head the same way, or you might always do the same leg sticking out. I do that a lot. So sometimes you can just do these, the trick with go to crop and go to flip it, right? And sometimes you can just flip the picture. And sometimes it doesn't look as good when you do that, but sometimes it works fine, and it's an easy fix to not having your head and stuff, on your head photos on top of each other. Just the way so it looks more uniform. It looks more fluid, okay? So that's what I do, and I'll write out my captions in there too, right? I can practice, if I know like I'm gonna get back on Instagram around 5 o'clock, and that's when I'm gonna do my post, or if I know that I'm gonna work again between 1 and 3, but I have my post idea and I just wanna have it written, I'll write it out in Preview, and I can copy and paste it when I go to post. And growing your following. This is something I didn't want to spend a lot of time on, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it. But you guys, it's part of your daily activities, okay? It's part of your vital behaviors is growing your following, okay? If you don't have new eyes coming to your page, then you're not going to have new eyes coming to your page, okay? Then you're not going to have more people to talk to. You're not going to have, you know, that increase of engagement. It's just a part of the pumping the well, okay? So doing this even just for 10 to 15 minutes a day, I know will make up a huge difference. Like Julie Kemp, who just shared on our team call, I think again a couple weeks ago, said that she'll just, you know, set a timer when she's watching TV with her husband and just go to, you know, a friend of a friend from college, the people liking on their posts or commenting on their posts, and she'll go on like a following spree. Okay, she'll go to people within her target market and go and follow who's following them or who's engaging with them. So if you aren't doing this, make sure you start, make sure you're doing it. Alex has a training in our team call history. She just did a training on this a couple months back. You can go watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also in our unit section on our team page. So if you don't know how to do that, you can go look that up. And there's obviously other resources out there available to help you with that as well. But yes, so these are, I think that's all I really have. Let me stop my share. Does anyone have any questions? Was that helpful? Okay. I know it was like a lot, but I really hope you guys take away from all of that. What's the yes? It was helpful. Okay. Why are you not on video? Always throws me off when people are on video. But I hope you guys just take away from that, you guys. Like, I'm really glad I got to do this for myself, even to just look back at how far I've come. Like, just to look back at where I started and just know, like, if I can figure this out, you can figure this out, okay? So I hope that this was helpful. Let me, if you guys have any questions or if you have any, I'm getting distracted by the chat. I can't open it. Oh. Your eyes are swollen. Oh. That's awful. I'm sorry. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm glad that you guys found this helpful. And like I said, if you have any